Hey everybody. This will be the explanation for assignment 25. Hope everybody's doing all right. Don't get nervous. There will be more interesting hacks to follow. Um, I have to do a video for the middle school sports awards right after this, so I want it to look a little bit more presentable since people might actually be watching that one. Nobody seems to be watching these. Now look, you guys did pretty well on this one. Again, I don't know whether that is more finding the answers or one person doing it and sharing, or if you're really understanding this stuff. That's up to you. Um, the one big thing is, and I'm going to say this throughout, they your calculations. You have to show that the numbers you're adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying, what those are. Okay, you have to show that this is total cost minus variable cost, or total revenue minus total cost, or whatever it is. All right. So um, you could either just show that what I'm doing is total cost minus variable cost, and that equals whatever, or um, average variable plus um, average fixed equals average total, whatever it is. You could say that first and then just do all the numbers. Or I think it's better to show this is my total cost, this is my total revenue. So I'm subtracting my total cost from my total revenue, and that's how I get my total profit. All right, but you got to do that. I'm just so worried that you guys are going to have everything freaking perfect and then get crappy scores because you don't fully explain that. All right, it's such a simple thing, right? If you're putting in all those correct numbers, which again most of you are, except for at least the last one I graded. A lot of you, a good amount of you didn't do this one, but again, I know you had AP Lit and some other things going on. You're really doing very well if you're doing it on your own, or at least whoever's you're getting it from, and whoever's doing it and sharing it is doing very well. So you guys really should be in good shape. You don't want to lose it on account of the, not having the right, either the right verbiage, which I pointed out to some of you guys, or not stating and clarifying what the numbers that you're actually calculating, what those actually are. Okay, so let's get right into it. Shakespearean insult. They were the most needless creatures living. It's pretty tough right there. They were the most needless creatures living. Should we ne'er have use for 'em, and would most resemble sweet instruments hung up in cases that keep their sounds to themselves. From Timon of Athens. Just that first part's pretty nasty, right? They are the most needless of creatures living. We don't need you at all. All right, so let's get into it. We got one about trumpets and one about hats, I believe. And I actually was able to find the scoring guidelines for these. It's very interesting to me also how much the scoring guidelines have changed from some of the early ones I have. The second question from today's assignment, 25, is from 2008, and the other one is from 2017, right? And they seem to me to have gotten much more nitpicky or specific about having the right verbiage and having the all the calculations explained as far as what the numbers represent that you're actually calculating. Okay, so let's do it. Maybe I want to change that just a bit. The laptop is precariously resting upon a garbage can on top of a kitchen table chair, so we have to be pretty careful with our steps and everything here. All right, so this one's about Brody's instruments. Again, make sure you got your number. So I'm sure some of you have already taken exams, AP exams. Get your number up there, DBAA 23. Again, I'm slipping in a Star Wars reference for you, and your initials. Okay. Okay. First question. Okay, so Brody's firm produces trumpets in a perfectly competitive market. I wouldn't think trumpets perfectly competitive. Whatever. That's what they tell you. That's what you do. The table below shows Brody's total variable cost. He has a fixed cost of $240, and trumpets sell for $60 a piece. Also seems rather cheap for a trumpet, but whatever. Calculate, part A, calculate the average total cost of producing 6 trumpets and show your work. 2 ways you can do this. Okay, I'll show you the way I did it, and then I'll show you the other one that College Board said would be acceptable. This is the 2017 one. Okay. So the way I did it was I said, how many trumpets did they say? Sorry. 6. Okay. So again, I'm doing question 1, part A. The total. Again, a lot of this is just reading, guys. That said, average variable cost, you gotta do some different things. But it says total. So my total variable cost is 120, and let them know you know what that is. Total variable cost. And I'm going to add that to my total fixed cost. And I know that my total fixed cost is 240. Okay? So that equals 360. Okay, so 360 is my total cost, but they want your average total cost. So I take my total cost. This might be going a little too far. I don't know if they needed this. I'm looking at their scoring guidelines. I would do it anyway, just in case. Now that they know that that's your total cost, divide that by your quantity of output, which is 6, right? And that's going to equal 60, and that is your average total cost. So let them know you know what you're doing. Again, you could have shown first total variable cost plus total fixed cost over quantity, and then just done all the numbers. They would have accepted that also, but you gotta show what the numbers are matching up to. Okay, you gotta do that. Okay, so that's the way I did it. They also would have accepted if you did, how was the other way they said you could do it? I thought it was a little sillier. Oh, you could figure out your average variable cost if you wanted to, which I think is kind of dumb. Basically, they said you could have taken your fixed cost and gone 240 divided by 6 equals, I don't know if I calculated this. I didn't calculate this, so I'm just going off their scoring guidelines. So I'm not even going to do that. Plus your total variable cost, 120 divided by 6, and put those together, and you'll still come up with 60. Okay, that to me seems like it's a silly waste of time. I don't think time will be an issue, but whatever floats your boat. Just let them know that you know what you're calculating. All right, so this would be your variable cost divided by your quantity in each time, and then that equals your average total cost. All right, that's part A. I'm going to erase it, hopefully to make it easier for you guys to see what's going on. Then we'll get to question 2, which I left over here, or B. Marginal cost of producing the 11th trumpet. You don't need any work here, and it really shouldn't take you any work, not even for me. Marginal? Did I say marginal? Yeah, marginal cost, right? Fixed cost stays the same. Going from 10 to 11, what's the change? The output is easy. You don't have to do any division because the output only changed by 1. That's probably why they don't make you do any math. The difference between 290 and 390 is 100. Just be careful and say, this is question 1, part B. My answer is 100. No work to be shown. Right? I'm going to erase that. I don't think anybody who handed it in or turned it in got that wrong. What is Brody's profit maximizing quantity? Use marginal analysis to explain your answer. Okay, so just in case anybody had any trouble with this, the marginal cost I'm going to put for each one, you probably didn't need to do this, right? But your marginal cost of that 7th trumpet is the difference between 120. I don't know what the marginal cost of the 6th one is because I don't know what the variable cost of the 5th one was, right? So that you can't do. But I can do 120 to 145, right? So going to that 7th one, I guess we'll put it here, would be $25 of marginal cost. Going from 145 to 165 is a difference of 20, and you go straight on down the line. And then 55, 55, okay, 220 to 290 is 70, and then we already established that one at 100. Okay, I didn't actually on my little sheet here. I didn't calculate anything past going to the ninth one because as soon as I realized that was 55, I was like, that's probably got to be the answer. I checked it just in case. Um, but 9 is our answer, right? So part 1C, the answer is 9. And you had to say something about that being the last unit produced where your marginal revenue is still greater than your marginal cost. Okay? Sorry, I kicked the cat ball. But then kicking the cat, right? Marginal revenue is still greater than marginal cost. You needed to give a little bit of an explanation in some way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, I'm just not sure whether they were going to accept the fact that at your 10th unit, which is what a lot of you said, at the 10th unit of output, now your marginal cost is greater than your marginal revenue. The way, and you guys can pull this up, it's all on open to you guys now for this year anyway. It didn't exactly say that. So just be careful, right? The way I would say it is the 9th unit produced is the last unit where the marginal revenue is still greater than the marginal cost. Or I guess you could say producing the 10th unit, your marginal revenue is no longer greater than your marginal cost. Let me read it to you one more time. They said, Brody determines quantity by equating marginal. Geez, you could have just said he figured out that he wants to equate marginal revenue to marginal cost. Jeez, that's easy. In that case, that pretty much tells us you could just pick a number, right? Well, no, this is only at one point part of the question. So, but whatever, you could just pick a number and say he wants to make sure marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. And if this wasn't a 2-point question, they probably would have given you credit for just knowing that, or showing that you know that. Or by choosing, here's another way you could say it, by choosing the greatest quantity where marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, right? Because for 6, 7, and 8, your margin, and that's another point which to be careful about. For 6, 7, and 8, your marginal revenue is still greater than your marginal cost. So if you just said that's where marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, yeah, but so is 6, 7, and 8, right? But you want to go to the highest quantity where marginal revenue is still greater than marginal cost. You could have shown the actual numbers. You didn't have to. If you were showing actual numbers, you would want to say the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. 60 is greater than 55, but it's not greater than 70. Could have said that. Or the 9th trumpet. Okay. Okay, they also said you could have used P instead of marginal revenue. It would have been acceptable. P equals marginal revenue because, and you didn't have to say this, you could have just used P. They are reminding you that the reason marginal revenue does equal P is because it's a perfectly competitive market, right? So again, you're seeing how so many of their old questions, and I really hope they don't change it up too much this year, they incorporate so much of everything you need to know about production costs, marginal analysis. There's that little aspect of perfect competition here, right? So, again, as silly as whatever, the fact that there's no multiple choice, I still think this is a decent assessment of whether you guys know what you should have learned throughout the course of this year. What I should have taught you, really. At the profit maximizing quantity, right, which we just figured out is 9, determine, in part C, calculate Brody's profit or loss and show your work. Okay, so again, is that the last part of this? Oh, I don't think I have printed out here the part about the sketch, but whatever, I know that, and I have it on my stuff. Just really get annoyed when I think I'm like totally, oh no, I do have it. Yeah, I'm totally prepared for one of these things. I spent 3 hours thinking about it and then screw something up. Okay, so this is what, part D. Here's what I did. I'll show you what I did. And I'll show you if they said there's another way. All right, so I did total cost equals their fixed cost, which is $240, and their total variable cost equals $220, and that equals, excuse me, $460. Okay, and then I figured out the total revenue. The total revenue was $60 a pop, and that's my price, and 9 units sold, right, which equals $540. So I did total revenue $540 minus total cost, which we said was $460, and that equals a total profit of $80. Okay, so again, I think we did very well on this one, if I'm remembering right. Not too many people didn't have 80 as the answer, but almost nobody had that it was because you added your variable and you fixed, and that was your total cost, and you took that away from your total revenue. All right, so please, 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 if you take nothing else from this video, remember to do that. Did they say there was another way to do that one? Oh, here's the other thing they said you could do. And the funny part to me is they say this is the scoring guideline from back in 2017, which again, obviously is not that long ago, but they knew you didn't have a calculator. So here's the other thing they said you could do. Some of you are probably ahead of me on this one already. I'm sure some of you are. But they also said you could have done it this way. You could have done that profit. Okay, profit is equal to price minus your average total cost, right? So that's like your per unit profit minus, times the quantity, right? So your per unit profit times the quantity. But here's the thing I thought was funny about that. Your price is 60. Your average total cost, right? You got to add up 220 and 240, and then divide by 9, which in this case works out to be $5.11. Okay, so that's your per unit profit, and then you multiply that by 9, and you still get 80. Which I don't know about you, but just seeing that number 5.11, I don't know if I'm getting that without a calculator. So in 2017, I'm definitely not doing it that way. I'm doing it the way I showed you a second ago. All right. So that's D, and then E said Brody also produced saxophones at a loss, also perfectly competitive. Also doesn't make any sense that saxophones would be perfectly competitive, but whatever. Draw a correctly labeled graph for Brody's firm showing the following at a market price of 200. So I'm going to pause and do that. Again, you don't need to do graphs this year, but the practice is good. If they show you the perfectly competitive thing, and you need to be able to recognize things. All right, so let me pause. Be back with you in just a sec. Okay, so I changed my mind. I do that sometimes. I'm going to draw it as I'm speaking here, all right? Because this is the way I originally taught you to do this stuff, is you're telling a story, right? And again, even though you're not going to have to draw these, I want you to understand the concepts. So here's price, here's quantity. This is a perfectly competitive market, right? So if it's a perfectly competitive market, a couple people mess that up. Please, this is probably one of the two most important curves for any market structure stuff that you're doing. Label it, all right? This is marginal revenue. It's also demand. We usually don't have to write that it's average revenue, but it helps us remember the silly thing, Mr. Dark, and it's price. It's everything. Put that in there. And here again, I think some of you missed this too. I don't know if they were going to be ticky-tack about this. I got to look at their, I'll read their scoring guidelines in a second. But they tell you what the price was. If I'm doing this in class, I don't really care that it's if you write that it's 200, but I should hold you to it. They say it's 200, make it 200. How many am I going to produce? Where am I going to produce the saxophones? Where marginal cost, Mr. Cool, Nike Swoosh, hits marginal revenue. Okay, so they don't tell you how many saxophones, but just did they tell you to label, how to label it? No, it doesn't even tell you how to label this, but this is your profit maximizing quantity. So I'll go PMC, PMQ, sorry. So that's where you're at. They tell you that this guy's incurring a loss, right? So like I always tell you, make your marginal cost curve first. And again, some of you might think, why does he keep telling me how to draw curves? A lot of you, whether you get fives or unfortunately don't, and have scores that your colleges don't accept, you might end up having to do this again in an introductory microeconomics class, wherever you matriculate to. And as I've told you before, I've had kids come back and be like, man, I'm sorry I was such a slacker in your class. I didn't get a 3, but boy, is my microeconomics class really easy for me this year. So draw your marginal cost curve first. That's Mr. Cool, and that tells you, it makes it easier to set up your average total cost curve, because you know that you come down. ATC, always trying to be cool, wants to be like Mr. Cool, comes down until it hits that point and then bounces up, right? Oh, here's another big mistake that a lot of you made, and again, it won't count for this year, but you should know. A couple of you guys brought your loss too far over. I'm not sure why you guys do that. Wherever that magic spot is, you go straight up to ATC, right? And then across, and that's your loss there. Okay, so if you notice that spot of, I think this is why you guys do it too. You draw the loss over to minimum ATC. They're not producing at minimum ATC. In long run equilibrium, they will produce at their minimum ATC. Okay, because firms will exit and enter, and eventually this guy who's making a loss, if he sticks around, Mr. Dark will increase for him because demand will increase for him because the other firms have exited, and he'll end up at his minimum ATC. But he's not there yet, right? So if you drew, let me do it in a different color. If you added this part to his loss, that's a ticky-tack thing that isn't a lot, but it's wrong. All right, you went too far. He's not that much of a loser. He's not losing as much. So wherever your magic spot is, take it straight up. Don't go over a little bit to the right. Okay, that was another common mistake. And his loss completely should in. There you go. Let me just check the scoring notes. Okay, 1 point is earned for drawing the correctly labeled graph and perfectly competitive firm with the horizontal. How to have that horizontal demand curve at P of 200. So again, if you forgot 200, you lost the point there, and that's just silly. 1 point is earned for showing that the profit maximizing. Oh, you don't say that. They're jerks. They say they want, in the scoring notes, they wanted it as Q star. Again, it's right there. More marginal revenue hits marginal cost. Connected with a dashed line. Good God. You're not going to give you the point if you don't have the dashed line. All right, so again, be careful. Hopefully your professors in whatever colleges you're taking this at next year aren't going to be such hard asses about it. 1 point is earned for showing that the ATC curve is above the demand curve at point Q star, and with the marginal cost curve cutting the ATC curve at its minimum. So you had to have that too. And for completely shading in the area representing the loss. Note, All quantities and prices should be labeled on the axes and connected to the intersection points by dashed lines. Wow, that's some seriously specific rating, but luckily you don't have to throw them this year. Just make sure you understand. You see all that? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to pause again. I'm going to put up the little grid for the part about the hats. That should be a little quicker. This was originally a part 2 or a number 2 question, 7 points. The one about the hats was a question 3, which is a little shorter, but also 7 points in this case. This was from 2008. Okay. All right. So see you in a second. Okay, here we go. I tried to keep that small so you can see more of the work. This one I thought should have been pretty straightforward. First question. Again, you get your number of workers, your quantity of output. The cost of the hats is $2. If hats really cost $2, I would be in a lot less trouble from all the ones that I buy. I have a hat problem. I love hats. Hats and books. Guys can have worse things that they buy too many of, right? What's so bad about hats and books? Had that argument many times. Okay. The wage is $15. All right. Okay. Again, they tell you it's perfectly competitive. Oh, that is important, actually. Produces and sells hats in a perfectly competitive market. That might come into play with the last question, but I'm not sure. It might not be that important. After which worker, part A, do diminishing marginal returns begin? Okay, so diminishing marginal returns. When do you start not getting as much back from increasing 1 unit of input? Okay, so that first worker gets me 10. So that guy's marginal, or lady, marginal product, not marginal revenue product, because that's a little different, right, is 10. They bring 10 hats to the company. You didn't have any hats before that. That second worker brings in 16 more, because you went from 10 to 26. So that worker brought more marginal product than the one previously, right? But the next worker, now you're only up to 36. So I added one more worker, but I only got 10 more hats. Okay, so when did diminishing marginal returns set in? After that second worker. So here, all you had to say was the second worker. And according to the scoring guidelines, this is 2018, so it's a little different. I don't bring this on. You didn't need to explain that that's why. You just needed to say the second worker. Okay. 2008. 1 point is earned for stating the second worker. That's it. And again, most of you guys nailed that. Part B says calculate the marginal physical product of the fifth worker. It's a reading test, guys. Only a couple of you messed this up, but it's because you assumed it was saying for marginal revenue product. They're asking for the marginal physical product of what number? Of the fifth worker. Okay, so for that fifth worker, let's keep going right down the line here. We're already kind of doing this. First worker brought you 10 more. Next guy, 16 more. Next person, 10 more. Then we went from 36 to 44, which is 8. So you're seeing your diminishing marginal product continue to diminish, right? And then you go from 44 to 49, which is a difference of 5. I don't have to go any further because that's what they were asking for. They were asking for the fifth worker. The fifth worker brings you 5 more hats. Or how do they say it? Or that's the marginal product. Okay, that's your marginal product. That's your marginal physical product. Okay, we don't know whether that was the greatest decision or what the greatest decision is because it's not about the actual product and how many hats are actually made. It's dependent upon the price that you're getting for those hats and how much these workers cost, which gets us into the next couple parts here. C, calculate the marginal revenue product of the third worker. Okay, well, we already got the marginal product of the third worker. It's 10. You already got that part taken care of. They produce 10 more hats. And this one's asking you for the additional revenue that that third worker brings in. So it's not the 10 hats, it's the $2 per 10 hats that this guy brought in. And again, you don't have to show your work here, but you could show this is my marginal product, this is my price, and obviously 2 times 10 equals 20. Even Scanlon can do that, and there you go. Right? I feel a sneeze coming on. I apologize already, or excuse myself. Ooh, I think I fought it off. Okay. How many workers will we good with that one? Let me just read their scoring note. Yeah, all you have to say is that it's 20. For calculating the third worker was 20. They don't say you got to show your work here. How many workers will GW hire to maximize profit? Okay, so for here, part D, workers a little shaky. Okay, so when is their marginal revenue product for each worker no longer greater than the wage rate? Okay, so here you can kind of cheat a little bit, right? You know that hiring that third worker brought you a marginal revenue product of 20, and you only had to pay that worker 15 bucks. So forget about all these. You know the answer has got to be 4, 5, or 6, right? Should you hire that fourth worker? Well, I hire that fourth worker, what does it do? It brings me 8 more hats, and that gets me a marginal revenue product of what? 8 more hats, $2 a piece, gives me 16 bucks. Marginal revenue product. What did it cost me? My marginal, good review here, marginal factor cost was 1 more worker cost me 15 bucks. So this must be some slave labor shop, man. $15 a day? Come on. So you should still hire that fourth worker. Even though it's only $1 benefit, you're getting 1 more dollar of good news as opposed to bad news. Right? You get an extra dollar off that guy because they brought you 16 bucks and it only cost you 15 bucks to hire him. Okay? Should I hire the fifth worker? No. But here's why. That fifth worker brings you 5 more hats. You get $2 each time. So your marginal revenue product of that fifth worker is 10, but your marginal factor, again, it could be marginal resource cost, is 15. So now that guy brought you 10, he only gives you 15. I don't need that guy. See you, man. Back on the unemployment line where some of us might be headed pretty soon. This marker is not doing well. Okay, so that's D. And E. If GW has a fixed cost equal to 20, okay, so now we're adding something new. These would be variable costs, obviously. Their fixed cost, they say, is 20. What will be the company's short-run economic profits from hiring 2 workers? Okay, so this is part E. I'll erase and come back up for part E, F. Actually, I can just say it. It's really easy. Okay, so they hired 2 workers. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong part. They hired 2 workers, which means they get what? They get $26 of. I'm sorry. They get 26 hats at $2 a piece, and that equals. I got to cheat and look at my notes. That equals $52, and that is their total revenue. They didn't ask you for this this year, back in 2008. I was coloring Easter eggs. But that is your quantity times your price, and that equals your total revenue. And what's my total cost? I hope you can still see that. Yeah, you can. Okay, so what is my total cost? Is 2 workers, 15 bucks a piece. Okay, obviously that equals 30, and that is my variable cost plus my fixed cost of 20. Right, and that equals 50. total cost. So my total revenue minus my total cost is my total profit. 52 minus 50 is 2. So that ain't a lot of profit, but that's their profit. It's ugly too, sorry. So again, you can see how they've set these up in the past where you really don't need a calculator unless you want it to be a really tough guy and do that other one. We had to figure out that 511 was the average total cost. I've heard that they are sticking with the questions that they already had planned. Sorry, looking for the cat. But they already had plans for this year. They're just giving everybody different ones, slightly different ones. I don't know if that means that they tinkered with the numbers on each question, or everybody, they have a pool of like 10 that they give each of you 2 randomly. All right, but I have a feeling where you're still not going to need the calculators, but good God, if it's me, I'm still having them there next to me because you guys know me in math. If the price increases, what will happen to the number of workers hired? And explain. In the short run, I overthought that for a second. Was like, wait a second. In the short run, can they hire more workers? Don't overthink it. They told you fixed cost was something else. Sorry, still looking at my cat. They told you fixed cost was something else aside from the workers, so you have to assume that that's a variable cost, which can be altered in the short run. Okay. And almost every one of you, I think every one of you, correctly said yes, it'll increase, but not for the right reason. You want to say that it increases because the marginal revenue product of each worker is going to increase, right? If the price that you're getting for each product that you're making increases, that means that each worker, the marginal revenue product is going to increase, which means the number of workers hired is going to increase because now your marginal factor cost stays the same. That is important. That's where it comes back to the fact that this is a perfectly competitive market because the price of labor is going to stay the same, right? The price of labor is going to stay at 15, but the marginal revenue product, what you're getting for each hat, is going to increase. So you're going to want to hire more workers. Not sure if there's another way to say that. Let me look at the scoring notes. 1 point is earned for stating that more workers will be hired. That's a 2-pointer. And 1 point is earned for the explanation that the increase in the price of hats raises the marginal revenue product. I really didn't see those words, marginal revenue product, on most of the 9 out of 15 assignments that were submitted. Okay, so make sure you get that in there. Hence, the demand for labor increases. All right, so that's assignment 25. I have to go make a video for the middle school lacrosse team that I never got to coach this year. I know, preaching the choir, right? No prom, no graduation. I know it sucks. So I probably won't do a video for 26 until tomorrow. I'll put something together for you to continue your practicing tomorrow, but I want to, and I have an easy day global wise. They already have something to work on. So I'll do, I'll get you guys something to do first thing in the morning, and then I'll grade 26, assignment 26 for you guys. Based on that, I'll do the, I'll know a little bit more of what to say and where you went off and blah, blah, blah on 26 before I make the video. And then I'll give you the weekend to chillax. And Monday and Tuesday, I really want to hit you hard with graph identification and stuff like that. Right. And then just some random bizarre things that have popped up occasionally that I want you to be ready for. And that's it, man. Take test Wednesday. Wash your hands, and I will give you obviously some things to work on. I do want to work through chapters 17 and 18, but it's not going to be hardcore. I'll give you plenty of time. It'll be pretty easy from there on. And I've also been, I don't know exactly how to say it. I've been focusing a little bit more on you guys than on the global. So I'm going to kind of tone it back with you guys a little bit and give them a little bit more attention. Just trying to play it fair. All right. All right. So that's it. I actually think that went pretty well. I usually preview these. I'm just going to upload this thing right now. Hopefully, I didn't do anything too stupid. All right. So that's it, guys. Stay well and stay healthy and all that. Bye.